What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blondes Building Equity. I'm super excited today. Jess and I are actually in person today, which is exciting and probably the future of the podcast, which is great. And we have an amazing guest today. We have Derek Demeo, and he has built an empire. Our last few guests have been real estate guests, and we wanted to switch it up and show you guys that if you want financial freedom, it doesn't just have to be real estate. You can quit your 9-to-5 and build any empire that you want. And I really push you guys to find your passion, find what you're interested in. That's really what's going to be the longevity. So Derek, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've built, and give them some tips.
First of all, thank you for having me on. I'll give you just a quick and dirty kind of how I got to where I am right now. So I'm 40. I live in New York right now. I started out like in the corporate world. I was the guy that was in college that was in the fraternity flipping shit on eBay for extra beer money, right? And so leaving school and jumping into kind of that corporate environment, you cap yourself, right? And so I got up to the point where I was making 6 figures a year, low 6 figures, never satisfied, never fulfilled. And I'm like, there's got to be another way. And so now everybody knows the company Airbnb, correct? Now, Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, was on my hockey team for 10 years straight, right? And so I remember reading Brian's story, literally sitting at my desk, miserable with my job, right? And I read Brian's story, and I think I'm built different than the masses. Like, I want people to win. I want you to win. I want this. So I see this and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I played hockey with this kid growing up, and he just built $1 billion company under the radar. And now and this was before Airbnb actually exploded. And so it just kind of gave me this little kick in the ass to get out there and start trying different entrepreneurial stuff. And so I failed with my first 2 businesses. They were just like disasters, right? I started to then get into the Amazon space. Now, everybody knows Amazon has blown up over the past roughly 8 years or so. Yeah. It's created more multimillionaires than I've ever seen out of any other industry, because a lot of people can get into that segue and then they can just explode. And you really don't need a ton of skill sets. You got to kind of understand how to market. You need a graphic designer, stuff like that. But long story short, I'm working this job and my wife is pregnant with our child, our first boy. Oh. She has him and she's dropping Wes off to daycare every day, visibly crying, like wants to be home with our child. So I sit there, and this is kind of how the entrepreneur in me thought. My wife makes 80 grand a year. I got to replace it. Don't care how, got to replace it, right? So I start off with an e-commerce company in New York City. I went as the head of sales there. We were taking brands and we were bringing them direct to Amazon and multiple other channels. And we were running stuff for them, but we were also providing software. So as the head of sales, I'm onboarding like sizable accounts. These guys are paying 10, 15K a month. We're flying on site. We're bringing them on the software. And I'm like a student. So I'm there, I'm learning their whole process, right? Now, this is where, my wife, Rebecca, this is that process. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to start a side hustle agency. Ideally, I was just like, we'll do social media marketing, etc. But my knowledge is Amazon. So I'm flying back and forth to China at this time, doing a deal with Alibaba with our software company. We almost got acquired by Alibaba in this process, but I'm then meeting with factory owners there that want to go direct to Amazon. Within 3 months, I replaced my wife's income, like wholeheartedly replaced her income, right? So now she's home and I'm like, holy shit, I'm on to something here, right? So 3 months later, not only did I replace my income in my previous job, but we were making $100,000 a month at that point. And I'm like, I'm really onto something right now. So we continued this path, and I quickly found out the real money is being the brand owner and selling the products itself, right? And so I partnered with my business partner, and that was 6 years ago. And we've done almost $1 billion in GMV on Amazon. We exited 5 brands. Peak of COVID, we exited 5 brands at like the top of our valuation, sold for an incredible number. And then on top of that, we kept about 2 brands. So we're still doing about 60 million a year on Amazon. But at one point, I was like the 30th largest seller in the world on Amazon. And that's including like the name brands too. And so we were I took a chance, basically, is kind of where I was with all of that. Yeah.
It's super interesting though, to see also, like, a lot of people view building a company and selling it like a really long-term process. And it's really amazing for you to see that within 5-6 years, you were able to build up these companies and exit. And that's the ultimate goal for a lot of people. I mean, to exit the grind, put into something passive and retire. I mean, you're a hustler, so not all the hustlers can stop working, but you could. And so that gives like people the motivation. Wow, if you started tomorrow and think in 5 years you can exit a company, be 100 million, this is crazy. This doesn't mean that, you hear about the Elon Musk and even in Amazon, they are building their entire life to his work. And that's some people's goal, but some people just want to be able to have an exit strategy to kind of live their life. So,
and I'm curious, what is like the overhead? So you're saying some of the numbers that you were making, because this is all online, right? Like e-commerce, there's not a huge overhead, or did you have like assistants? Did you have other sales representatives?
Yeah. So like people right now, when you say the word e-commerce, they think of all the shit that they see on Instagram, which is like automation, drop ship bullshit.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that, right? Like we were the real deal. I built real brands from the ground up. Our overhead between me and you was astronomical, because you got it when you're doing that kind of volume, you got 30, 40 million hanging in the wind at any time, because you have to build goods, right? And so my business partner happens to be a factory guy. So we were a unicorn. Like I'm front end, I'm marketing, business development. Like I can take a product and literally figure out what makes Kinsey tick and sell it to her, right? Like I can psychologically, like it's a skill set I have. Amazon just looks like the Matrix to me. Like I can just look at it and I just see it in a different lens than most people. And so, but the capital carry was like one of the advantageous reasons that we exited, because it was like we could pocket quite a bit of capital on it. And then my first investment after our exit, I invested in a company called GameLancer Kinsey. You should check them out.
Okay.
And that was my first investment. I seed rounded them at 800K and we just went public. So I own 11% of that company.
What's their valuation now?
It's going to be close to 100 million, I believe. They're publicly traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. And right now we are in this amazing spot. So, when you check them out, we own every gaming handle, fully verified. We own TikTok, gaming, gamer. We own everything on TikTok. And we basically have all this paid media buying that we're bringing in the door now. But we have tentacles. We have tentacles in every industry. And so gaming is massive right now. Our channels get 1.4 billion organic views per month right now. So we were an attractive acquisition. The company that bought us, everything went public and we rebranded as GameLancer. So this is a project that I'm like super hot and heavy on right now. Going to stay involved with these guys. Yeah, I think it's going to be very big. So it's exciting.
With all of your brands and now with this company, so you're really versed media buying. Has that been your main form of marketing, or what has been?
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to product, media buying on Amazon, like at the peak before my exits, I was spending $1.4 million a month just on paid. So it's just paid.
Through Facebook, is that YouTube and TikTok?
Nope, strictly Amazon. Most people think like it's external traffic. Like
I had a different when they're already in.
There's a saying in Amazon space, like we feed the machine. Like Amazon, the ROI is amazing. So if you like feed them the way that this machine wants to be fed, they will give you better impressions systematically. And so I saw people trying to cut corners and I was like, you know what? That's noise. I'll spend here. And then as a result, all of our items were bestsellers practically. And so it worked out really well.
Is this because I'm thinking like you don't do as much marketing outside of Amazon because people don't necessarily care about the brand as much as they do like the reviews and where it places on Amazon?
That's exactly.
I'm like, I love Amazon. I've been like a huge buyer. Like I literally buy everything on Amazon. Everything. Like Kinsey's like, okay, so our assistant, like, let's have her go to the store. And I'm like, no, I Amazon Prime that. Like she can do other stuff, but I Amazon Prime everything.
And I don't want to leave the site now, even if it's like closed, like I know it's going to be less quality. I'm like, just get it on Amazon, 2-day shipping. It's easy.
Amazon just makes everything. They've actually mastered simplicity.
It's simplistic.
And understanding like, I know that I can take it back if I don't like it. That's the best thing ever. Like I'll pay more even if I need to. But most of the time it shows you.
So to your point that you just made right now, I'll ask you this question. When you search for a product, whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? Would you say that you make your buy in the first 4 items? Do you know what I mean when I say this? So like
1,000%.
You search an item. Typically speaking. So that's the point, right? So that's where I'm
going.
So
you're doing SEO. You pay for SEO.
I have the stats on it, right? I have the data on it. So typically speaking, the first 5 spots is where 75% of orders come from on Amazon. So when you know this data, I throw money at it because the ROI on the ad spend is astronomical. When I was spending 1.4 million a month, we had months we were doing $15-16 million in 1 month. Like it was absurd, and our margins are really good too. So it's a balancing act. I think the entrepreneurs that like really have that tenacity and hustle to get in there and break systems down, kill it. Like they really know.
And like you said, it's about understanding the buyer too. Like if I understood a huge buyer on Amazon, what do I do? Yep. Like, what do I do on a daily basis? I definitely don't go past 5. Like I look at the first 5, whichever one is the cheapest, has good reviews. I just buy it right away.
3 things that they buy on reviews is huge. So if you're like below 4 stars, no one even clicks it, right?
Yeah.
4.5 and above, always. Review count, super important. And like the holy grail, bestseller tag. I had that on every one of my items. So like,
how did you,
I know to hit these benchmarks, and then, they equate to the volume that we were doing.
How did you decide on these products? Did you have any products that did a lot better and then some products that were failed?
I'm going to tell you my products right now too.
Let's go. Okay.
So pillows, huge volume in pillows. So we were big in the pillow space, right? And then here's the funny one. Air mattresses. I was the largest air mattress seller on all of Amazon. And the reason we went that route is because my business partner, number one, manufactures them. So obviously we're experts in it. He's built for any brand on earth, like huge operation. But data-wise, over 25 years straight, airbeds have never declined. So I'm in a product that is not recessive, right? Like I don't like one-off products. Like during COVID, honestly, I'll give you another one. I was the largest face mask seller on all of Amazon, the whole platform.
Wow.
The whole platform. We sold a ton of them, right? And my rep called me one day. He goes, "Can you get masks?" This is right when, remember when the guy in the boat that was like outside of LA, right? Do you remember that cruise boat when we were kind of just like getting into COVID and people had COVID on that boat and it hadn't hit the States yet?
I remember.
You remember that? Yeah. So my rep
we were stuck in the pond.
Yeah. My rep was like, "Dude, can you get like masks?" I was like, "Bro, I can get anything. Like I can source anything that we need." And he goes, "If you can get masks, you will sell 10,000 units a day right now." And I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, holy shit. And at that time, no one really knew what COVID was. Like, I'm not a giant fan of masks, full transparency, but nobody knew, right? Like, is this like some plague that's going to end something? And so
and you stock up and you lose them. That's what I've learned about products too. Is like the best thing that you can be with products is something that people are going to constantly buy. If you're a skincare product, you buy it every month. I wash my hair. I'm going to go through my shampoo. I need to buy another one.
Exactly.
So with air mattresses, that would be interesting to me because I don't need more than one air mattress.
Right. You ready? You ready for this? Here's the data. They have a 2.5 to 3 year cycle because they're made of plastic, right? They get a little dirty. Typically an airbed is this, right? Like Kinsey's going camping with some friends. They want to glamp, right? They're going to bring this there. A couple drinks later, a little tipsy. One of them gets like a hole in it. It's a little, so then you're like, oh, but I love the experience of it. Right.
Right. Or you just like move,
cabins, guests,
throw it out and buy a new one. I have bought a few air mattresses in my day. So.
That's my point. Right. So you bought it.
Wow.
Is it because, okay, so they buy it every 3 years, but is it also because it's a higher price? Like it's like they buy it within 3 years and it's all a higher price?
Not necessarily. Like we covered every price point. So I could sell you a queen air bed for $70. I could sell you like a queen air bed for $150. Everything comes down to plastic, guys, right? So this is how this works. You take any product, right? You got this charger here. She could have a charger there. I can weigh them and instantly tell you because it's all plastic, right? That's what a ton of the products here are made of. So it depends on the spec that you build. Like Amazon is notoriously known. Sellers build really shitty spec products and they don't sell well. And then it results in the reviews and they have a wasted program. They wasted a ton of money. We always built a premium level product because I want the reviews to glare that way. And so subsequently our products have north of 40,000 reviews on them. Some have over 100,000 reviews on them. You have to really forward think that. You got to make sure that you're long game on it. You see, nowadays, every entrepreneur that I see is trying to come into the game. They're just short-term wins. How can I make 200? How do I make 200 grand right now? And it's like, well, why not just make 200 grand for the year when that 200 grand is going to spiral into a multi-million-dollar a year income if you put the work in? And that's how I try and get people thinking these days, like the young kids that I talk to,
This is incredible. So what was your favorite brand that you've built and what made you be like, okay, and how many brands have you built?
Yeah. So I built 6 from inception. My favorite one was a brand called Enerplex, Enerplex. I liked it because I bought it for 1.4 million and sold it for an insane multiplier. When I bought this brand raised $100 million when they went to market. They almost named Denver Broncos Stadium Enerplex Stadium. Company went belly up. I bought it, for the 1.4 with a partner, and we, 30x the brand. So it was great. It was it was a fun story. Like I was able to take it because it was normally phone cases, and I put it on pillows, air mattresses, digital weight scales, face masks. Like we got really creative with the brand, and I think it takes that in this day and age.
So you are actually housing the product. You actually have the stock, right? Because you're not drop shipping it.
So correct. But what we do, we're a little more sophisticated than that. We build all of our goods in factories that we have overseas. And then I utilize our shipping and Amazon shipping, and we ship 40-foot, the big container. We ship 40-foot containers at scale, hundreds of them. That goes direct to Amazon. Amazon actually holds that product and they ship all our product.
Right.
But how do you get the initial funding when you were starting your first brand to be able to house the product and not drop ship it?
So basically when I did that, what I was doing was when I had the agency prior to partnering with my partner, dude, I was saving everything. Like I was frugal, right? Like I can live great now. Like now I'm able to ball out a little bit, but honestly, then, guys, I'm not even kidding you. If I made $10, 9 of it went back into the business, right? Like I was just calculated that way. I'm like, all right, to get to where I need to go. So then I was able to save enough money up. Me and my partner started with a couple containers. And what was nice, we weren't taking any money then. We didn't take money from the company for over a year. No money, like $0 came out of the company and paid us. And that's how we had the bankroll to
right. So how were you able to do that then? Because I think we're also the same way, but I don't think a lot of people are like that. So how were you able to, you had another job while you were also growing this company?
So yeah, exactly. So I had the agency,
right?
And then I had this. So the agency was paying us. That paid the salary for me and my wife. At that time we had 2, because we have 4 kids now, right? But at that time we had 2. So I'm bringing in this income, right? This income's healthy, and I'm building my kind of what's to be the empire, and I'm not skimming from it at all. And this is where I see so many young entrepreneurs fail, is they start making 20 grand a month. Great. They go out and buy the Lambo.
Oh, 100%.
Right? They go out and buy a $70,000 watch right away. Right? Like all these different things are happening, and you're like,
instead of putting it back into your company,
like if your business fails, you got literally $16,000 in the bank. Like you're up shit's creek basically. And so a lot of the folks that I mentor, when I talk to them about this, I'm like, tell me about what you do with everything right now.
Yeah.
And 80-90% of the time, because Kinsey, I follow you on Instagram. Your content's amazing, but 99% of Instagram is bullshit. It's not real, right? Like, and what I mean by that is it's a lot of flash, and it's like, listen, I show cars on there. I do a lot of that shit too, but I'm in a different spot. And the Lamborghini and the Ferrari I own are paid for by businesses that bring in residual income. I get write-offs on this. This is what I try and get people thinking. Like, I don't know what the exact thing. I think it's if you can't buy something 3 times over, you shouldn't own it. It's something to that effect. But that's kind of how I see it.
People are always like, you guys, like, you're so rich, or like our friends, we have to get them in the mindset, because I'm the most frugal person you will ever meet. I'm TJ Maxx, Marshalls. I don't buy.
I love it.
I get everything collabs, worked out deal, we save everything. So it's like, even now, even if we have to our name, multi-million, it's all back into real estate.
Yeah.
So for us, we're like, oh no, we need for rent. It's going to be about $1,000. That's going to be and they're like, people are like, or at dinner, we're like, no, we don't want to pay for that right now. And our friends are always like, but you guys are rich. We're like, but we're not wealthy right now.
Yeah.
We're rich, but everything.
Totally get it.
And I think that's an important.
I love that, ladies, but I love that you do that.
That's
my story.
I think that's an important thing to note for anyone starting out in any business, is that first and foremost, because everyone's like, how do I start with no money down and no job and no experience? And I was watching this guy the other day on YouTube, and he was like, save money, get a job. Like, I'm not teaching you how to do something with no money, no experience, no work ethic. Like, get one of those. You need to get one of those. And if you have
the biggest,
perfect.
Totally. I think right now, I think the youth that are up and coming right now, the biggest thing that you need right now in this environment is a skill set. So what do I mean by that, right? Like, if I'm trying to get in the door with Kinsey and say, Kinsey, I want to be an intern for you. And she's like, all right, great, Derek. What do you do? like everything is value, guys, right? Everything is value. So if I say to her, I can create compelling short content, I'll take your content, dice it up, make it beautiful, give me a shot, I'll do it for free, right?
Hired, yeah.
Exactly. But nobody wants to do
that.
Right? I shouldn't say nobody, but you need that mentality.
The thing is, it's really hard, I think, especially as an entrepreneur when we're scaling, because we're both relatively successful in our own right. And that's because we have that mentality. But now in order to scale, we need to like delegate some of those tasks to people that are kind of like us, where they're like hustlers, have that tenacity to them. But how do you find someone?
It's hard to find.
So watch this. Watch this. You're gonna like this. Let me answer that. So when I was building my Amazon business, right, the joke was I had 2 US based employees and I had an army on my India team, right? And my head of marketing comes in one day and we're just like drinking coffee, looking at this, like laughing. And she goes, dude, you've built a 9-figure company with like literally 2 to 3 people here and all these VAs. She was like, we should turn that into a business. And like, we kind of joked with it, right? So all of a sudden I thought like, I was actually able to successfully do this. So to your point, we launched a VA company. We did this 2 years ago. We have a ton of customers now, like Death Wish Coffee. Like we have real brands that use us, right? And they took the business model that I had and they just simply implemented it into what they do. So now I have this
super powerful,
huge high rise. Huge high rise in India with hundreds of employees all under one roof. We own the company. So for example, folks like you come in, Kinsey comes up and says, Derek, I need like literally 3 hours of my day back. Our rep sits down with you and then we start getting you thinking in another way. Kinsey, what are you doing every day that you do every single day? Go back 6 months from, and you're like, okay. And you do this exercise and you're like, holy shit, I'm doing like literally 6 things daily, all day long. And then we take that off your plate. We do video SOWs. It's a really sophisticated system. I'm actually very excited about it because I think it's kind of like the next big company for us. It's a very emerging market right now, Yeah.
No,
so I'm a freak, guys. I'm a freak. Like I got 17 companies. Like I'm not well when it comes to this, but I love it out here.
But no, that's what we love. I think like one of our many passions is finding people like that, because I think serial entrepreneurs, and you just find like whenever I've been in LA now for 3 days and we've just been networking with everybody. And I'm like, when I find someone with that inside them, I'm like,
that's how jump on it. I'm like,
we're gonna be friends. We got to work together.
Because we're built the same. Like I guarantee you, if we were in the same room, we would rap for 3 hours straight and all 3 of us would leave with immense value, right?
Yeah.
That's like the people. I'm in New York though, but I was in the city for a while and now we're in upstate New York. I'm in Saratoga Springs. It's beautiful here.
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah.
But my people aren't here, if you get my drift, right? Like I'm a little more upstate. So I don't have females like you here. I had access to that in Miami, in New York, right? I don't really have that here. So I got to travel to kind of get back to my tribe sometimes, which is what I do, but COVID kind of curtailed that down a bit, but it's nice that things are open again, obviously.
Or you have Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom's good. Yeah. It's not the same. Zoom's not the same as hanging. Then you all go out to dinner after. Like you're networking all night long, right?
Yeah,
and you leave and you're like, holy shit, Kenzie gave me a gem and I can actually take that now. And I just made $1 million on that, for example, right?
Wait, I have a question about the virtual assistant, because I was thinking about that the other day, because we've been looking for a little bit, a week now, but that's a long time for us because we're usually so quick.
Yeah, totally.
But we've been looking for an assistant, and I was thinking about that when I was Googling it. There's these sites that are like virtual assistants for $11 an hour, and they specialize in social media marketing. And Kinsey was kind of like, well, that's way below like minimum wage. Like, how can we even find that? And then I was like, wait a second, what if you go to a place that has cheaper rate of living and
my editor is in India.
Yeah. But like you specifically hire them to work kind of like someone here that understands like social media and understands like how to market to your audience, and like train them to be a very highly skilled worker, but they don't need to be paid as much because they're in like,
there's a world that exists where like you can literally run every business that the two of you are operating. The problem that I see most people have, and why, to be fair, why VAs can sometimes get a bad rep is it's not necessarily a VA issue. And I'm going to use this example. It's you understanding how to onboard a VA, right? Now I've cracked that code. And so like we have a whole system. like we have a hierarchy. So for example, if you go on Upwork, guys, this is some dude like working in a bunker in Pakistan with 30 accounts telling you that you're their only customer, for example. Like the VA game is very shady. Like they're working 7-8 accounts. I wanted to kill that at the core of it. So basically I formed it and we own the company. I have the managers there, right? So like every VA has a team lead. Every VA is only assigned to one customer. Our churn rate is like nothing right now. Like it's one of those things too. Like the reason I like the business model is because I guarantee you this. So if I chatted with you two after and you took VAs on, the funny way this works is there's no going back. Like you never can, like it's that sticky. Like I have 3 personal VAs that just work for me. And then I have a bunch that work for the businesses I have.
Yeah.
If that were to shut off today, you know how screwed I would be? Like overnight, right? And that's how much they're managing. What it comes down to though is how you implement your video SOPs. So we do video SOPs. We give you the software, you go on, you're going through on your screen in real time, live, recording how you want tasks done. Right. You have to remember something. Like Kinsey wants things done the way she wants them done.
Right. Yeah, that's what's hard. Is like
VA doesn't know that, right?
Want to be like, you know,
yeah.
The biggest preconceived thing that people have is they think a VA can come in and automatically know what Kinsey wants done. It's not realistic. It's not reality at all. So there is some work up front, but dude, it pays dividends if you do it. Because think of it like, what would you be doing if you had 4 hours a day back? You'd be prospecting new business ventures, new real estate deals, new side hustles. Be flying your helicopter, right? Like that's how that goes. And so I think it's a little bit of
my helicopter anymore, which is
that's
very sad.
So true.
I told her yesterday.
Hey, what?
I can't fly anymore. We're so busy right now. I mean, we're just diving full time real estate investing, but we're also running our social medias and our podcast. We have 5,000 things to do a day.
Yeah,
and it's like I just have to take a backseat on some things. Like I was able to build my social media. I lived an amazing life and able to monetize to a certain level with it. But I have bigger goals. You know, we want to be billionaires. We want to own all the real estate in downtown Los Angeles. So woo!
And I think another thing that I'm realizing right now, because right away we're like, let's hire a virtual assistant. Let's hire like a bunch of employees to work for us to offset some of this work. But what I'm realizing as well is we're kind of like figuring out our brand together because we have one separate. So now we're coming together. We kind of need to do that first before we're like, okay, we're going to hire a virtual assistant and they're going to do this, this, and this. We need to know, where do we fit in this world? What is our brand? Like what is our long-term goal and what path gets us there? And I think that's what we're kind of doing right now versus like, how much time do we spend social media marketing, or how much time do we spend lead generating, or, you know, meeting new contractors? We're trying to do that ourselves first. And then once we have a rhythm and understand, then we can like offset some of that work.
You're spot on. Like you can't give away what you don't know. And what I mean by that is you have to figure your systems out first. Right. So this is what I did. Like on the Amazon piece, dude, I mean, I'm full transparency. I was working 16 hours a day for like a year straight. It's just what, you know, I had no social life at that point. I was like a social butterfly before that, right? I mean, you know, the great thing about my wife is she's fucking incredible, amazing with the kids. And I remember when I told her this, I remember when she quit her job because I replaced her income. Yeah. And I said to her, I go, I just replaced my income. I'm quitting my job. And I had a stable job. It was like making $180 a year there. She didn't even bat an eye. She was like, I believe in you, babe. And like, I think we need people like that in our lives, right? Like we need people like that. Like there's many female entrepreneurs that the husband works the stable job and supports his female to go out and like go build your dreams, and I'll support you. I'll do what I need to do to hold it down, right? And so honestly, she was great. Like she was amazing. She believed in me. She supported me. You're looking for that guy?
We have that guy. We're looking for that guy, but I think something else that we're learning, because we always try to give people tips and tricks for how like we have kind of made things successfully. And the biggest thing I think with us together is like, we were like the other day, we're like a partnership. Like it really is so hard to be an entrepreneur by yourself if you do not have a partner keeping you accountable or someone that you feel like you owe them. When it's just yourself, you don't have as much obligation. That's why 9 to 5s sometimes are the most stable thing, because you're working for someone, you have to go in or your boss is gonna be like, where are you? So to have Kinsey, it's like, it's almost like I have a boss, but I'm also an entrepreneur. Like I also work for myself, and it's like the best balance.
And every day we're bouncing off each other. But in our personal life, I think we need like for it's been a problem in the past. Like, you know, when we have huge goals and we want to work, and it's typical for a woman when you're dating, because we want a successful guy too.
Yeah.
But they need a woman who's supporting them, and we are trying to do our own thing. So it's hard to have that both. So
it's hard.
It's difficult. Now, I don't know how old you two are, right? But like, for example, I see men that are somewhat successful, but like extremely intimidated by a successful woman, which I think is absolute insanity, right? Like,
no, but
they don't want us.
Totally. I love seeing independent women like following their dreams, like hustling the way that you two are. Like, I don't imagine how many different side hustles you have. It's probably as many as me, right? Like, you're in as many verticals as you can. And I think that the reality is it's a numbers game, guys. So one pops, you're like, I just made 18 million on that exit. I'm taking the 18 million to get to 180 million. I'm at 10 exit, right? And then something else pops. And before you know it, like the rooms I'm sitting in now, I'm in rooms of billionaires now, right? 5 years ago, if you told me I'd be where I am today, I would have believed you because I knew I was going to get there. I would have believed you. My mindset. Like, all right, you ready for this? Ready for this? Last time I was in LA, my boy put this tattoo. There's a tattoo of a lake here, a really prestigious lake in New York, right? So it was about 3.5 years ago. And he said to me, he's like, is this like a lake? I was like, yeah, it's Lake George. Look it up. The place is sick. And he's like, do you got a place there? I go, I will in 2 years. 18 months later, I bought a $3.5 million property there, cash, right? So that's the power of the mind. Right. And I think people underestimate that often. Like,
we tell
you two are always focused, right? Like, you're focused. Your mind is set on stuff.
And we have no limiting beliefs. We're like, if someone says like, oh, well, that's a little hard. I'm like, no, I'll buy that building. Like, there's nothing in my mind.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to buy that building.
I love that.
I will figure out how. I don't.
I grew up in a middle-class family. And the story that I was told growing up was you go to school, try and graduate high school. 100%. And if you work hard enough, maybe you'll get a house one day with a mortgage and a white picket fence.
Wow.
And so I was programmed that way.
You could retire at 65.
Totally. 65, retire at 65, like, and then die at 70 because you killed yourself for all these years, right? Like, you see that story all the time.
A lot of people do.
Whereas now,
it's very interesting.
They do. Yeah, they did a whole study on that.
You get 5 years. Come on.
Closely after retirement, right? And here's the thing: my parents were great. It wasn't their fault, right? Like, my mom was a school teacher. My father was a Viet.
My mom is.
Right on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My dad was like a Vietnam vet letter carrier for the U.S. Postal. This guy got up every day, 5 a.m., 33 years, and did that. And so that was my conditioning. And then I got fortunate. I met some people that think the way that we do.
Yeah.
And I realized I had that in me. And then, so I think that's, you never know the impact you make on a human being. You know what I mean when I say that, right? Like, if you two think back, somebody hit something in you.
Oh,
like,
I'm
worth it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
That's actually how we met, is like being connected in circles here in LA. Like, I was always looking at like, who are the business owners who are like, I want to get into real estate. Right. I literally looked at who sells the most real estate in Beverly Hills, who makes the most amount of money. I want to be.
You went right to the top. You went right
to the top. And I think I was like 18 years old, door knocking, and I started like doing deals, and people were like how, I don't understand. And I'm like, it's the circle that I surrounded myself in. There was no doubt in my mind. I was like, no, I'm going to make money.
But I think you made a decision. Like a change, like, because before I moved to LA, I went to nursing school, and I thought like, I wanted to become a doctor. And then I saw doctors were working till they like in school till they were 35 at the residency. And I was like, whoa. So I switched to nursing and I was like, okay, I'm smart. This is going to be $100K a year. And then all of a sudden I started traveling, Instagram started and I moved to LA, and it was literally like my mind just blew up. I was like, wait. So doctors are not the only rich people. I thought the only way that if you were smart, you become a doctor. That's what you're raised. Like, you think like, if you're smart, okay, go be a doctor and you'll make money. And we came here, and I would ask people, I'm like, they're driving this car. I'm like, what do you do for a living? They're like, I'm a real estate investor. I'm like, that's cool. I'll figure out that. And then somebody looked at both of us, the person that introduced us, this one guy, and he was successful. And he said, you guys have brilliant minds. You should meet this girl, Jessica. And that's how we met 5 years ago. But he looked at us and said, I hope you could do anything. And that was everything.
That actually like changed my life. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You how successful they are running like a $300 million company, and looking at you and saying, you have something that not a lot of people have. Like, you have what it takes. Just hearing that and knowing that, it makes you see something in yourself.
Whether you have it or not, you got to believe you have it.
You do. And that's very true. Like, honestly, there is an element of fake it till you make it sometimes when you get into certain things now. You know, like there's a little element of that, right? And like I love that story though.
Shit on us for that.
But I love that story because it's like one person said something to you and it gave you this level of confidence that you were like, not only am I not going to fail, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to excel in it. Right. And like I've been fortunate. I've had really good like men in my life that have been mentors. And I had some amazing, like I learned to sell from one of the best female saleswomen I have ever met. She taught me true business development. I'm talking not car sales. She taught me how to create value. Wow. And that's really important, right? I think like everything's a value exchange, right? I wouldn't be doing your podcast if you didn't think I could bring some value to it, right? Like that's how life works. And I think when people start to understand that, it's the example I gave to you of like, hey, Kinsey, let me cut up a short video for you. I just want to get my foot in the door because what you're doing looks cool and I want to get up there and I want to learn from you. That's the drive that people need, right? Like that's the programming and everybody has it. They don't know how to access it. And that's where I think we come into play. Like we have to give back what was freely given us, right? It's just the way the universe works.
Do you do any education? I know a lot of people that we network with these days do a lot of like teaching their knowledge, which I think is super powerful because if I went back in time, started at 19 again, I wouldn't have gone to college. I would take a course on how to learn a skill or something like that.
How to do something, right? Yeah. Right. So the Amazon space, as you can probably imagine, is incredibly saturated with bullshit, right? Now, everybody that sells on Amazon knows me, everybody, right? And I've built my brand that way, which has worked well. I talk at events, I do stuff like that. Yeah. I will one-on-one with people, but to do a course and if I put my face on a course, I would feel so cheesy because then I'm having to do these like marketing plays and shit like that. So the reality is,
and that's a full business in itself. It's hard to manage.
Honestly,
I've seen the inside of that.
Honestly, Kinsey, you're going to make maybe $3 million on a course, and I can make that in 6 months without having to do any of the other bullshit, right? Like I can get to that very easily with a side business. So it just doesn't make sense, right? But I can add value at scale to founders. I mean, I'm invested in so many companies right now, like the guys at Game Lancer.
And it's all about conversion per price per ticket. I know a lot of courses they go for bigger to price items. So you selling to a company and saying, I can restructure your entire business. Yeah. That's 100 ticket play or 100,000. You want big ticket plays for less customers. And that's how you're going to make
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you fully on that. And so, but no, I've never done that. I've spoke at the events. I've mentored people one-on-one. We did a whole internship thing for multiple years before COVID. So I was going into schools and you know who I was finding? Us. I was finding our people. And I was like, come here, let me show you this. And like some of these people have gone and do really cool shit. And I don't want to take credit for that. Me and my team were able to put this together. Like I have a kid that left. He's making like $180, 200 years. He's 24 years old, right? And he just took stuff he learned with us and he's been able to implement that. That kid will be a millionaire by the time he's 27. I promise you, right? But he had what we have. He has that drive. He has that, that sometimes takes a little bit to pull out of somebody. Right. But everybody has that. Anybody that listens to this, everybody has that drive.
Our whole life we're conditioned one way. Yeah. So it's a little bit, but I don't know about you. I mean, I was senior class president valedictorian in my high school. I was always driven. I just didn't
I saw that, but you had a lot of like big accolades. I didn't have that shit, dude. I was like in high school, I was drinking, smoking weed. Like I partied, and I woke up
too, though. I was like the one
partied a lot.
I was very popular, so I would party, but then I would make sure I get my straight A's. I was like senior president. I was doing it all. I was playing all the sports.
Dude, you were goals then for me in high school because I was partying a lot and I was not getting straight A's. And the thing that's funny about me, I don't know if you relate to this. I mean, you seem like maybe the type after you describe it that way. Can you just read something and automatically know it and go get an A on the test? Is that how you roll? Like, is that your program?
It was always
because I'm not programmed.
It's her hard work ethic. She works.
Totally.
And I know most people, it's like, but honestly, I don't even think those are the most successful people because if it comes that easy, sometimes they don't learn the work ethic that it takes to run a successful business.
My sibling, I grew up the dumb one out of my siblings. They would get in, like 100% on their ACT, like crazy, kill it. And I would do worse. And I was always like, I'm the dumb one. And then I realized I was way better at networking and way harder working.
Yeah.
And I had the leadership skills and the drive. And then they now are just like engineers and they make $100,000 a year and work at their office and that's it.
Yeah.
But they're
Isn't it fun? But the story, I love psychology. The story that you told yourself at that time was I'm the dumb one. We've all done this, right? Like I remember getting out and like when I really, cause I was partying like crazy and I woke up at 25 one day, I'm like, dude, you're literally going to accomplish nothing. Like if you continue to live, like I was living in Florida. Like I was like,
I know now we're 25.
Yeah. Beautiful. Like I'm 40 at 25. I was 4 or 5 years behind where your drive is. So I love seeing this, right? Like 25, your mindset's there. It's amazing to be honest with you. But a lot of us have been a victim of believing that negative self-talk. And it's death. It's death. Like I wake up, dude, meditate. Like I have non-negotiables in my life now. I work out every day. I meditate every day, right? Like I take vitamins every day. Like I do all this shit that keeps me mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Because without that, I lose like my creativity. I lose my drive, my creativity. Like Kinsey, I know you work out a ton. How do you feel when you don't work out for 3 days straight?
I've actually been on this kick this last 3 weeks. I haven't been working out, which is really surprising.
How do you feel? You feel better? You feel okay?
She was saying I was moody this morning and I was just thinking about it. I have been moody and I was like, I think it's like, I'm not like waking up. Like that was always my release. Like right now we're working so much and it can be, we're like, woo, stress, like one day, great day, one day we're crying. So I need to release that.
Well, cause she's never really moody. I never have issues with her being moody, like ever.
So it's probably,
and it doesn't,
I was thinking about laughter, like,
wow. It doesn't bug me, honestly. Like I just kind of laugh. Like she's like, there's so much clutter everywhere. And like, she's a little like edgy.
I just moved to her place.
I'm
like, little clutter.
She's like trying to throw all my stuff away. But you know what? It's fine. And then I was just kind of like, you're a little moody today, but I think it might be because she religiously works out. She got me into
like her IG, like the thing that I noticed right, first off, I was like, this chick's cool as hell. Like she's jumping out of planes. She's doing, so I saw that and I was like, this is neat. And it's good content. Right. And so, but the one thing I noticed about you is you're super active. And I know for me, like I played sports a lot. Like I was a great hockey player. And so when you leave all that, I still need to move this body or it's like for me, and I was only giving that example. If I don't work out for 3 days, dude, feeling it.
Same.
Sluggish, a little fog, a lot of brain fog, right? Boom, I go get in a good workout, kill cardio, lift like crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a new person, right?
And
that's why it's non-negotiable anymore. No more, non-negotiable. Yeah.
I've always seen successful people that they have all those things. Like you look at someone who's successful and you look at just the traits of their life. Yeah. And it all has correlation. You have to see the correlation between it because like, I don't know many really, really successful people who don't also value a healthy lifestyle or working out. Like it's impossible to keep your body going when you're feeding it crap and you're not like you're releasing anything.
Food is a big one. Like
something
you're
else
eating like shit all day.
Something else that I've implemented is also ice showers in the morning. Tony Robbins always does.
I've been doing that.
Oh my God.
I love it. I love it.
Like more than anything, because I was just like, I don't care about like a tighter body, blah, blah, blah. Like my body's great. Totally. But what got me was mentally like training yourself to do something really hard in the morning. Everything else kind of becomes easier. And also training your mind when you're feeling like your body gets tired and to train your mind, like we're going to do this anyways. It correlates, like it overflows into like your work life, your personal life, everything.
Wow.
You need a cold plunge. I'm ordering a cold plunge. Have you seen those? Like, but have you seen? So they make this cold plunge. This one, it's expensive. It's like $7,000. The one that I'm getting, but this thing will sit at 39. And to your point, you get in there at 6 a.m. Dude, you go in there at 6 a.m. So I have a steam shower. So I'll go cold plunge, steam, cold plunge, steam. The endorphin I can ride on that is like 5 to 6 hours. I know you know what I'm talking about if you're taking cold showers. Like that.
Wow.
It's like you can ride that. Like I can ride it. And here's the craziest part. I'm normally like a 2 cup of coffee a day guy. If I'm doing that, I need 0 coffee. It doesn't even affect me. I don't even need it. And I like coffee, you know what I mean? But I don't need it.
Okay.
I'm operating with like
we can do this in the morning
mentality.
at Liam's house.
Yeah.
Liam, my friend, he lives next
There
to
you go. Yeah.
And he has an actual plunge. It was like $8,000.
Yeah, because I was going to say the only
Kinsey, you got to
we're
try
making,
it.
we're making life changes. I moved from my mansion. Now we're living in a tiny apartment together. We're investing it all.
So were you in Puerto Rico flipping homes? Is that what you were doing? Or did you just move there for a while?
Yeah, I was there for tax.
Like, listen, between me and you, the last place I belong is New York, but no, family's here. We have 4 kids.
I mean, now I'm back.
Like, chase me if I went there.
I'm back in LA for now. So I moved there. It was during COVID, and we pay 4% tax there. And it's also the community I live in was incredible. Imagine some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. And
I know.
You drive your golf
I know
cart,
a ton that were there.
Hey, Paul, how's the fun going? Oh, you just raised $2 billion.
Totally.
Okay, see you at lunch tomorrow. Like, it's crazy.
Let's go play around tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. But then, I mean, the market there is insane. But I'm going through a breakup right now. So I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay.
She has me.
So I'm just getting my feet back on the ground. And
so what's real estate look like in LA right now is the question.
We just put an offer in yesterday. It's funny. She's been here 2 days and we've literally put in an offer on a house. Got, getting our first investment property. The market is very inflated. So obviously, even when it's inflated, you can still find good deals. You have to be very, very particular about the deals that you put offers in on. So we found a good deal. That's the biggest thing, but it is very inflated. So it is kind of a risk, obviously, to get in if you're doing a longer project, because what if we see a little bit of a correction? But to put it in perspective, it's 20% over year, 20% over.
I mean, like, so for us, you know what I love? I like right now, I'll tell you what I love real estate. Like we own a lot of real estate. I love elite lake properties. Got to be lakefront. Like I bought a 3,000 square foot cabin in Lake George. Does $250,000 a year. Right. Wow. And so like I have a business model there. And then in a week, I close on a property in Nantucket with 2 business partners.
Nantucket! Oh my God.
So like I'm going there. I'm going there in 2 weeks. Hit me up if you guys are over there. Like I got all kinds of hookups there. But listen, so we bought this property. We'll close on it. We paid about $5 million for it. Okay. Now here's the deal. I'm going to go stay there for a bit. And then we got the whole summer rented. We're going to bring 400 in. That pays for the tear down. One of my business partners is one of the largest developers there. We're then going to build on this piece of dirt is arguably the nicest piece of dirt. It's just in Billionaires Row there.
Wow.
And then we'll be all in for about 10. We'll flip it for 16.5 in 16 months. It'll be sold 16.5 in 16 months. But the point I'm making, right, is like I go after recession-proof places. Nantucket is fucking recession-proof. It's all billionaires there. So we'll pour the foundation and this house will be sold, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way that I'm looking at real estate right now. I'm not a fan of, I don't want these multi-units. You want to know why? The fucking cap rates are not real. The valuation is not real. As this market corrects, I don't want to get into a situation where I paid $1 million for this. It's appraised at 750 or 800 and my cap rate's down based off of what I thought I was getting. And so I think like for me, we're being very careful with those type of investments right now, but I like destination locations, guys. Like seriously.
Right.
Okay.
No, those are Nantucket is like such an amazing place. The place that we put an offer in on, it's like right off of Melrose. And that's like such an iconic street, like where
I know exactly where it is.
Melrose and San Vicente. So it's like very iconic. It's hard to see, even if we do have a correction or a crash, it's like this area will always be one of the prime spots in LA. So that's what we're focused on as well. Instead of just doing like smaller areas like Harvard Heights and Inglewood. And like when you have a crash, it's like nobody wants to move to those areas. Now we're buying in a place where it's like, okay, even if we have a recession or a correction, like that, this place will always be a place for people.
Or you can we can borrow our money out and be able to use it as an Airbnb. That would super because it's the prime.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you buying, rehabbing, and flipping? Is that what you're generally doing right now? Like, is that your model?
For now, that's the plan, just to continue to build a lot of cash flow, because we could do like 10 to 20 flips at a time once we manage it. But eventually, like to develop those are bigger returns, and then to have big syndication buildings. So I do want the passive income model. It's just figuring out the best way to do it.
Real estate's generational wealth. You guys know this. Like it's real estate is how many people I know that their net worths are in the hundreds of millions, 50-60% of their portfolio generates some of that. And they did that after they had success with so they exited an IT company for 90 million, right? And then they went out and they got in the real estate market. They learned that game. The interesting thing about the three of us, right? I don't know about the two of you, because I think you're wired this way. I can go into any business model and I will learn it and I will become top of the food chain at it, because to your point, I'll go right to the top.
Yeah.
And I'll say, hey, I want to do a deal with you. I'll put $1 million in a deal and then I'll watch exactly how they do it. I'll learn the whole system and then I can replicate it and I can do more deals with them. Like that's,
and that's what we do, spend so much time networking, and we value it so much. We have an hour a day for networking, because the more people we meet, they see that we add value. But we know how much value they, at 25 years old, our main goal right now is learn every in and out. So we met a billionaire who's a real estate investor and we're like, let's have lunch. And we pick his brain and we're like, okay, we know.
Absolutely.
I think knowing our strengths too, like obviously I'm not, we're young, attractive females. We can use that as a strength. We can be like, hey, you're worth 7 billion and you can teach us a little bit. You want to go out to lunch? Like, and they always say yes. They always say, they're not getting anything else. They just want to go.
Billionaire wants to hang out with some pretty girls. We'll disclose some information. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I think like, I just want to point out to people, everyone has a strength that they can work with, whether or not it's like you're young, attractive females and you can get in the door with these billionaires, or maybe you have another side hustle. Like, let's say you're a really good wholesaler, you find these really good deals. That also is a huge quality that you can add value. When you have money, you don't have time. So if they have a lot of money, you probably don't have time to be cold calling and door knocking and getting these deals. If you have that to bring to them, you have to understand you're bringing so much value to them that they don't have. You have a lot of time.
You get it. I like how you two think. You get it 100%. I mean, you're spot on. Like, honestly, it's really encouraging to see like two young female entrepreneurs at 25 years old with where you are right now, not just monetarily, but mentally and mind space wise. You guys are going to kill it. Like, watch where you are at 30. It'll be like nothing you can ever imagine. And right now is the largest transfer of wealth that we have ever seen. And so we're all kind of in spots right now that are advantageous to where this market is, right? Like let's call it what it is. Like, stock market's fucking tanking today, guys. Like, things are getting crazy.
Don't talk to us about stock and crypto.
People that I have $0 in the stock market, never have. Like, the stock guys would come to me. Like, one guy wanted me to give him literally $20 million. And I go, what are you going to do with it? And like, I love fucking with these guys. What are you going to do with it? And he's like, well, I go, I'm my best return. He's like, well, what do you mean? I go, so I show him my returns. I go, can you beat that? And he's like, well, no. And I go, I don't know, it's spread across 17 companies. I go, I don't think you really add any value to me. Like, the way I look at that is I want to be able to control what I do because I'm good at what I do. So what do I mean by that? If I have a company that's failing, I can get in that company and fix it. Dude, I don't own Netflix. It's down 80%, right? Like, I don't have any control over Netflix.
I'm nervous.
But that's how I view stock market. I don't know. It's just me. Not saying it's right. I've been successful without the stock market.
And also I'll add, we are impressive, but we're still young and we just made this mistake of like investing in crypto and investing a lot into stocks. And, we
had the mindset like, okay, you know what? Well, for me with crypto, I was like, did so much research. But I was like, if this does 10X, it would make a big difference to me very passively versus like, if I lost my $1 million, like, okay, I can make that again. Like, I'm not really worried.
100%.
But I think that this is all to say we are learning and whoever is watching this, like, we are still going through trials and errors. And like, I just lost like 700,000 in the stock market. It's a lot of money to lose. However, what I've learned and what I was telling Kinsey yesterday is I almost like don't regret it, only because how I lost that money is because I am such a risk taker. And that is a quality you can never buy. Is like understanding.
I agree with that.
Money is just money and like taking those risks. But obviously now I'm learning like
which risks to take.
Yeah, which risks to take. But you need to have like that risk mentality of like when you first started your e-commerce business, you still had to put a lot of money down to get those crates in. Like, that's a risk. You don't know
if that failed, I was belly up, right?
Yeah.
But I knew it wasn't going to. And I kept that mentality. And I love that you're like, I lost 700 grand. Yeah, that shit hurts a little bit. But like at the end of the day, right? You're like, I know over the years, I've lost millions.
That's good to hear.
But you've made substantial amounts, right?
Yeah.
And every time I lose something, I learn more and I'm bulletproof. on the next thing that I do. Right. And so this is like a learning game, but if you're not failing, you're not growing. No question. Like if you're not having little fails.
Back to, I always think to myself, like that, this is how I'm getting through this right now, is I tell myself what you've learned is more priceless than the 700,000 that you lost. Like the amount that you've learned is like, I am becoming bulletproof. You know, I'm not there yet, but like you said, like you have to go through these fails, and every successful person says this, like, if you have not failed, you will not reach $1 billion.
I think we've
already not going to.
Like you said two companies failed before it happened for you, right?
I had two in the beginning.
Two in the beginning. I think we both had two previous, like even before my social media, I was building, and then it just didn't work. And we were always trying. This
is when like I had no money at this time. So like a $15,000 investment to a startup for me, it was every penny I had to my name, right? And so you then have to go out and like rebuild, and sometimes it can get, but that's the thing, is most people that I see that really succeed, they never quit. And every guy that I know that I've talked to here, every gal that I know that I've talked to here has had failed business ventures. So it's like, it's kind of part of, you lost $700K. It sucks. I've lost money like that as well. But we're smarter now. You're risk adverse in certain areas. You might not jump at this investment right away. You'll think it through a bit and go, what if this goes here? So not being negative about it, but just doing better due diligence. I found that like as good as you get at doing due diligence will pay insane dividends, right? And it's a tough thing to do sometimes. Due diligence.
Write this down.
Wow. Well, Derek, this has been way better than I.
It was fun.
I knew you were going to be absolutely amazing, but you're incredible. I hope when we're in New York,
thank you.
And I'll grab dinner and
absolutely. We'd love to meet you too in person. Yeah, it'd be a fun time. I think
that'd be amazing. Yeah. And then anybody who's watching, obviously you guys have seen that Derek's an absolute star. So you guys follow him on all platforms, check him out. He's always posting really cool stuff. He actually I don't know how I found you, but then I started following you because it's just so.
We just like linked. Yeah, we linked, and I was like, wow, you're doing interesting shit. Like, I feel
and I thought the same about you.
Yeah.
Where would you want people, if someone wanted to look for you, where would you direct them? Your Instagram, YouTube?
Probably just Instagram. I would go Instagram. My handle is my name, Derek Demeo. DerekDemeo. Yeah. Sweet. Thank you.
Right there. Bam. All right. Okay, Derek. Thank you. Thank you.
That was good. Girl. I enjoyed it.